When you think of beaten and bruised, what do you think of? A broken bone, maybe a car accident or a sports injury, or maybe you fell off a ladder. But I'm talking about women's abuse. And for most of us around here, we don't think women's abuse is a problem here in Kentucky. But it actually is. Women's abuse is a big problem worldwide. And for the past century, it's become a major problem. In every country, even in the United States, women every day are abused by a man, and most of the time, the man is their husband. In an article, The Impact of Intimate Partner Violence on Anxiety and Depression in Women in Nigeria, it states that the most common form of violence is that perpetuated by a husband or intimate partner. Some women in our home societies are even being beaten and bruised by their spouses, but yet we don't know because they're too scared to tell. But also, in some developing nations, the violence rate between a man and a woman is tremendously higher than ours at home. And this is because of religion. In the article, Religion, State Power, and Domestic Violence in Muslim Societies, religion said it's okay for the man to abuse their wife because it shows that they're the head of the household. And that's crazy because just because one religion says it's okay doesn't make it right. If countries would separate religion and state, we wouldn't have this problem of women's abuse as much. Just like the United States, we have laws that are established that keep religion and the government separate so we can put laws into place to protect women. This violence isn't only causing physical problems, but also mental problems. Intimate abuse causes anxiety, stress, and depression in many women. Based on a recent study, it says that the women who have been beaten by their husbands have a significantly increased risk of adult major depression. And depression is already a major problem worldwide. Why aren't we trying to stop it? We can decrease depression rates when we decrease women's violence. Women's abuse needs to be put to an end all over the world. And we need to put laws into place, separate religion and state, and put women's violence to an end. By establishing these laws and separating church and state, the United Nations and support groups would finally be able to help those being affected by domestic violence and abuse. This would decline the rate of those physically hurt and also mentally abused. The United Nations will be able to set up clinics to help women, and I know critics claim that because the United Nations is going into these countries, that it would change their culture. It might affect their culture a little, but that's not the goal of the United Nations. The goal of the United Nations is to help women and stop the abuse. Women aren't equally protected under the law like men are, and that's the goal of the United Nations. This would allow women to learn how to handle life on their own, and women should be able to have a life without having to worry about being abused and having to depend on their husbands for a stable, financially secure life. With laws separating religion from government, women would finally get the chance they deserve with education, jobs, and a life of freedom. Just like in the United States, the developing nations in the world need to help put a stop to women's abuse forever. With the establishment of abuse laws, the decline of women's abuse can finally happen. And with the help of everyone, they can finally put women's abuse in the past and give everyone a healthy, happy, and abuse-free life.